be LeBron James if he's Jordan. No, I run rings with my performance. I'm on Kobe Bryant up in all this. Same coach, same game, been starting. Same triangle offense. I come through the lane like the dodging. Referee niggas is lame, they call charging. I have no brain, I'm retarded. We all not the same, I'm a Martian. You can be my Jane, I'm your Tarzan. I'm from the jungle where the snakes is all poison. I am magnificent like Marcus. You might want to fall back like August or late September, whatever you call it.
Man, I love always coming in to a little bit of music here and there because you guys know that if I weren't doing what I'm doing with sports and journalism and radio, I'd definitely be doing something musically. I don't know what, but it'd be something in a particular capacity. You know why I'm here. It's Monday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you guys are going to watch this or listen to it. Welcome back to a highly anticipated episode of Monday Evening Quarterback. If you guys have been following along from the get-go, welcome back and thank you for always supporting. And excuse me, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And I hope you enjoy the show whenever you decide to watch or listen to this. My name is Christian Simpson, and I am the creator, the founder, the NFL and college football analyst of a company called The Daily Blitz, where we specialize in all things football 24/7, 365. There is a ton to talk about. What a weekend it was. The divisional round, which is my personal favorite weekend of the NFL season, has come and gone. And what a weekend it was. We're going to talk about that. Going to break down what caught my eye in every game. I'm going to go to the phone lines as always. I'm going to answer some questions. I'm going to promote how you guys can keep up with me and how you can listen to me on all the other shows I contribute for. And then we're going to end the show. And then I'm also going to give a little teaser of conference championship weekend for Remain, but we'll get into that a little later in the show. Let's dive right into it because I was so excited to get here to talk a little football. But before I get into that, the music that you just heard, that was a Lil Wayne freestyle called Doe is what I got this week. Will mark 2 years, I can't believe it, that we lost the basketball legend Kobe Bryant, and that's why I'm wearing this shirt, because he says a line in the song referencing Kobe Bryant, and with me wearing the shirt, I wanted to pay homage somehow, some way, only the way I could. Can't believe it's been 2 years since that helicopter crash in Calabasas, California, that took 9 people. Kobe Bryant and his second oldest daughter, Gianna, better known as Gigi. Time flies. Still weird to talk about him in the past tense, but I had to get that out the way, make sure, I paid my respects and my homage. But yeah, let's talk about the divisional round. Let's talk about the first game that took place on Saturday afternoon. That was the Tennessee Titans, the number 1 seed in the AFC. Tennessee Titans facing the Cincinnati Bengals, who had just won their first playoff game in 31 years. So the 1 seed was so crucial for Tennessee because it allowed them to get their best player back. And who? Derrick Henry, right? And Cincinnati, they came in with some confidence. There was no pressure on them. They got that weight off their backs. Now it was all on Tennessee. Prior to the game, in my preview, I kept saying that Tennessee needs to make this game ugly as early as possible. They cannot get too cute, because if they do, it will come back and bite them in the you-know-what. And that's exactly what happened. First play of the game, I'm thinking, hey, they're going to get Derrick Henry the ball, and that's going to tell Cincinnati what type of football game this is going to be. And first play of the game, Ryan Tannehill throws it, and it's an interception. I couldn't make this up if I wanted to. Now, I want to give Tennessee's defense a ton of credit, because I'll admit I've been very vocal about them, and not in a good way. Tennessee at times can struggle to get after the passer, and their secondary hasn't been all great. If you listen to me throughout the 2020 season. Those were my two major complaints that I had with the Tennessee Titans. But this Titans front seven came ready to play, and they dominated the line of scrimmage, that front seven, throughout the game, and ended up sacking Joe Burrow a total of 9 times. You heard that correctly. 9 times. Cincinnati really couldn't get Jamar Chase the ball, so they spread the ball to other weapons. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, C.J. Uzoma. Seemed like T. Wood was Joe Burrow's first weapon choice, because Tennessee did a really good job of taking Chase away. And they said, like a wise man I know always says, anybody but him, right? So it was a field goal game early on. Derrick Henry did end up scoring, which was really good to see. I just always think the game is better when the big names and the superstars are healthy. And when he's healthy, everybody knows he's the best running back in the league. Really wondered how Cincinnati was going to come out and how they were going to stop Derrick without their best run stopper in Larry Ogunjobi. He hurt his foot the week before in the wild card win over the Las Vegas Raiders. But DJ Reader, who was my X factor for the game, he came in and he stepped up and he had a magnificent game. That's the thing about football. When one man goes down, the next man must step up. I'm always going to favor that next man up mentality. And I look at the offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, look, I'm not mad that they selected Jamar Chase in the draft. I even called the Bengals one of my draft losers last year because they didn't address a particular need, and you've seen it lingering throughout the year that this team needs offensive line help. I've said it for almost a year now. You can get Chad Ochocinco and Terrell Owens out of retirement, and it won't mean a thing if your quarterback can't stay upright on his feet, right? Burrow made clutch throws when he knew he had to. He got Mixon the ball. T. Higgins had himself quite the day. And Ryan Tannehill. Now, a couple of weeks ago, when I took a phone call with my one friend, her name is Cree. Cree called in to the show, and she asked me a question about the 1 seeds, and she was like, okay, Green Bay and Tennessee, what's keeping them from going to the Super Bowl? And I said, Tennessee, 2 words, Ryan Tannehill. When teams sit on that line of scrimmage to take that grown man, better known as Derrick Henry, away, can he be the guy that you depend on to drop back and throw the ball 35 times a game? No, he is not. He's not that type of guy. I think he's just a plug-in guy until they can get a better quarterback, whether they get one in free agency or whether they draft one and build one up for the next 5 or 10 years. But to me, that's what's holding them back. Ryan Tannehill threw 3 interceptions in this game, including a costly one that pretty much ended up giving the Bengals the ball. Bengals moved the ball into field goal position, kicked the field goal, win the game by a score of 19-16. I'm gonna look up some stats here. You know, it wouldn't be me if I didn't look up some stats. Let's see. So I'm looking at the Bengals stats right here. Joe Burrow, 28 of 37, 348 yards, averaged 12 yards per pass attempt, and 1 interception, no touchdown passes, and he was sacked 9 times. Like I said, Joe Mixon was 14 carries, 54 yards, almost 4 yards a carry at 3.9, just rounded up to 4 yards. He had a touchdown. Jamar Chase still finished with a quiet 5 receptions, 109 yards, no touchdowns. And T. Higgins, 7 receptions, 96 yards, no touchdowns. And then C.J. Uzoma was targeted quite a bit as well. He was targeted 8 times, caught 7 of those 8 targets, 71 yards, 10 yards per catch, and no touchdowns as well. The Bengals really had to grind this game out and make it a physical game. Now, the Tennessee side, let's look at it. Ryan Tannehill, 15 of 24, 220 yards, passing, 1 touchdown. 3 interceptions, and he was only sacked one time. So give the Tennessee offensive line a lot of credit. They were able to protect their quarterback. Deontay Foreman, 4 carries, 66 yards, and it seemed like every time they would feed him the ball, or even Derrick Henry in this instance, good things happen, and they always seem to get cute, like I said, and they got away from what it was that was helping them move the ball up the field. A.J. Brown, look, this guy is the truth. I've compared him to Anquan Bolden. He's the closest thing I've seen to Anquan. 5 receptions, 142 yards receiving, and a touchdown. Did you guys see that touchdown? By the way, that's probably the best throw Ryan Tannehill made of the entire game. And Julio Jones, he finally came off PTO, as I like to joke around and say. 6 receptions, 62 yards, 10 yards of catch, and no touchdowns. This was the Tennessee Titans' 3rd time as the 1 seed in the AFC playoffs, and they've never won a game as the 1 seed. They go home again. It's going to be a long off season for the Tennessee Titans. That's a tough loss for them to swallow. You did all that work in the off season just to go home in your first playoff game. Tough, but that's how it is. The Cincinnati Bengals are in the AFC Championship game. Whoever thought that this would be possible, you need to come on here and do what I do. Or, I'll even give you access to the website if you want. Because if you predicted that this would happen, you're good. Crazy. Whoever would have thought that the AFC will come down to the Cincinnati Bengals and who they play, who I'm going to get into in a little bit. So let's talk about game 2 of Wild Card Weekend. Probably the biggest stunner of everything. Green Bay Packers, the 1 seed in the NFC, hosting the 6-seeded San Francisco 49ers. Now, these two have a history. It's been a rivalry between them. These two used to play in the playoffs all the time. A lot of Hall of Famers have played for both these teams. Brett Favre, Steve Young, Terrell Owens, just to name a few. Last couple of years, since 2012, this has been a one-sided affair, especially in the playoffs, because Aaron Rodgers, coming into this game, had never beat the San Francisco 49ers in the playoffs. 2012 divisional round, they made Colin Kaepernick look like the second coming of Michael Vick. I'll never forget it. Play him in the playoffs the following year up in frigid Green Bay, and San Francisco comes away with a victory. And then just a couple of years ago, they met in the NFC Championship. This is when San Francisco played the Kansas City Chiefs. That was the one that Kansas City won just a couple of years back. And Green Bay couldn't stop the run, and they were dominated. Now, these two played in the regular season this year in Week 3. Came down to the end. Green Bay won the game by a score of 30-28. Aaron Rodgers playing back home. He's a California kid, and he grew up idolizing the San Francisco 49ers. So he was playing his childhood team for the second time this year. Now, the first half of this game, I saw a hungry Packers team. I saw a team that wanted to run the football. Rodgers was spreading the ball around. Randall Cobb came back. Because he was injured. He had that core injury. There was no David Bakhtiari, which kind of surprised me because I know he came back the week before when they played the Lions in the season finale. And the defense also came ready to play because you guys know I've been extremely questionable and extremely skeptical of the Packers defense because I've said it as they play defense in spurts, so they would look good a half, and then the wheels would just end up coming off the car in the second half. And to win championships, you got to be consistent in every phase of the game. Green Bay was running the football. Got to give them that. And San Fran looked flat offensively for most of the game, if you want to be honest. But when they needed a big-time conversion, they got it from their playmakers. George Kittle's still one of the two or three best tight ends in the National Football League, and Deebo Samuel is arguably the most versatile player to his team in the league. And I know he was hobbled a couple of times because teams are really circling in on him and trying to limit him and take him away. So coming into this game, I said, can the Packers take away the middle of the field when Debo was lined up as a receiver? Because he makes his living going over the middle, in traffic, making those tough catches, and they had a tough time with it. The turning point of the game was the block punt. And that allowed San Fran to get back into the game. Excuse me. Get back into the game and tie the game at 10. Now, the play calling from the Packers was absolutely atrocious when they got the ball back, because I saw Aaron Rodgers trying to force feed the ball to Devontae Adams. Now, he had a wide open Allen Lazard running over the middle, and there were two guys on Devontae Adams. I get that's your trusted guy and everything, but take what the defense gives you. As I've commonly said about another team who I'll talk about very shortly. San Fran gets the ball back. They run the ball, ran Elijah Mitchell a couple times, got the best mismatch possible with George Kittle. Debo ran the ball a couple of times, and they just, they played keep away from Aaron Rodgers. San Fran gets in a field goal position and shocks the world and beats the Packers, sending the number 1 seed in the NFC home at Lambeau in the elements. San Fran wins the game 13-10. Let's look at some stats from this game, shall we? So, Jimmy Garoppolo really didn't have to do much. Just kind of had to control things, and he did just that. 11-19, $131, 11 yards per pass attempt, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 4 times. Elijah Mitchell, 17 carries, 53 yards. Debo Samuel, 10 carries, 39 yards, and then he added on 44 yards receiving as well. George Kittle was the leading receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. 4 receptions, 63 yards, no touchdowns. Love what I saw from the San Francisco defense, because they made sure they kept Aaron Rodgers in that pocket. They doubled Devontae Adams. This is actually the best I've seen their secondary play, maybe all year, and they saved their best performance for when it mattered most. Now, on the other side, Aaron Rodgers was 20 of 29, 225 yards, 11 yards per throw, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was sacked 5 times. Aaron Jones, 12 carries, 41 yards, no touchdowns. A.J. Dillon had the lone touchdown for the Green Bay Packers, 7 carries, 25 yards. Aaron Jones was the leading receiver for the Green Bay Packers, 9 receptions, 129 yards. And as a defender, you'll take that anytime you can, because anybody but Devontae Adams, plain and simple. Devontae had 9 catches for 90 yards and no touchdowns. Now, the big news is Aaron Rodgers can't do it in the playoffs. And to be honest, he can't. He hasn't done it since the 2010-2011 season when the Packers won that Super Bowl over the Pittsburgh Steelers. You realize Aaron Rodgers hasn't won a Super Bowl since Barack Obama's first term at the White House in D.C. I'm just throwing artifacts out there, right? Since then, Aaron Rodgers has gone 7-9 in his last 16 playoff games. I better never hear again that Aaron Rodgers is better than Tom Brady, because Tom would have found a way to win that football game. I'm just saying, I've seen Tom do more with less and still get the ball moving somehow, some way. Was that his last game in Green Bay? Only time will tell. It's tough to say after such a tough playoff loss, but Aaron Rodgers cannot point the finger at anybody else but the man in the mirror, because his defense came ready to play. I know some of the years when he's lost in the playoffs, everybody said, oh, he doesn't have a defense. He doesn't have a running game to lean on. Has a running game. Has a top 10 running back that he can lean on. And Aaron Jones has another good running back that he can get the ball to. And A.J. Dillon. And the defense was actually pretty good on Saturday. They showed up. They held their opponent to 13 points. Where were you? and you're the projected favorite to win league MVP, and you didn't show up. So, I just want to throw some logic and some narrative out there. If Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears, the 49ers own Aaron Rodgers. Am I right? Like, let's be transparent here. We remember what Aaron Rodgers said when he played the Chicago Bears here in October on a bright sunny day. I own you. I've owned you all my life. Yeah, that might be right. Has a really good record against the Green Bay Packers, but he cannot beat the San Francisco 49ers. I truly felt this was going to be his best chance to win a game against San Fran, and he couldn't get the job done, plain and simple. So now Green Bay goes into a long, cold offseason. San Francisco advances to the NFC Championship for the 5th time since 2011. Remember, they got there 3 times, I want to say, or 4 times under Jim Harbaugh. They've been there, 3 times. They've been there once under Kyle Shanahan, and now they're back there once again. Just a crazy upset, a true upset at that. With that being said, let's go to the phone lines. Let's see what some people have to say.
I'm back to the phone lines. It's going to become one of my favorite things when I... I'm back to the phone lines. It's going to become one of my favorite things when I record the show. And I have a special... Caller, you're on with the analyst. How can I help you? What's up? My name's Aaron Taylor. What's going on, Aaron?
say, those phone callers, man, those make my day, and they make the show so much better. So glad I came up with that concept. You're probably listening and you're probably wondering, could I jump on and talk to Mr. Simpson himself on a phone call? Absolutely. Let me know. Contact me. Email me, c.simpson@thedailyblitz.blog, and just put MEQ in the subject line. I know what you're talking about, and just say, you would like to be on a phone call. How would we set it up? And I'll explain the steps, and we'll make it happen. I promise you. So I talked about 2 games already. Have 2 more to discuss. Let's talk about the Sunday games now. So half of the conference championship bracket is painted right now. Cincinnati Bengals beat the Tennessee Titans, and the San Francisco 49ers beat the Green Bay Packers. Now, the 2 Sunday games, the first one took place on NBC. Los Angeles Rams, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, last Monday night was the best I saw the Los Angeles Rams look all year. They saved their best performance for when it mattered and when it counted the most, because they were all in Kyler Murray's face. The defense was flying to the football. They made the Cardinals a one-dimensional football team, and the offense did just enough to escape. Matthew Stafford only threw the football 17 times in that game, but most importantly, no interceptions, and that's what worried me about the Rams entering the playoffs. Tampa Bay, Philly lost that game more than Tampa Bay won it last week. Tom Brady got his 35th playoff win, and yesterday was his 47th career playoff start. That's absolutely unbelievable. Now, these two played during the regular season in week 3 at SoFi. And I remember saying in my preview that the game was going to come down to one thing: which team could put consistent amounts of pressure on the opposing team's quarterback. And that was the Rams. The Rams won that game by a score of 34-24 in the regular season. And I just had a feeling that these two were going to meet again in some capacity in the NFC playoffs. And here we go. Now, in my preview, I said that these are the type of defenses that Tom Brady hates playing, right? Because to stop him, you have to sit guys at that line of scrimmage, drop back, keep the spies in the middle, so force him to throw on the outside, over the numbers, over the top, right? And when pressure is coming up the middle, that makes him move, and that makes him move into defensive ends who are trying to get to him. So you have to rattle him. You have to get in his face. You got to make sure his jersey is dirty. Put him in long yardage situations. And this game was exactly why you went and acquired Von Miller, who was my X factor for the Los Angeles Rams. And he actually has quite a history playing against Tom Brady. I remember that 2015 AFC Championship like it was yesterday between the New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos. Von Miller was in Tom Brady's face throughout that game, and when you hit him, he becomes discombobulated, he panics, he becomes finicky, and he's just a completely different guy rather than just standing back in the pocket, making all the throws, and just picking defenses apart. And that's exactly what the Rams did yesterday. The Rams, they set the tone defensively, and how dare they try and block Aaron Donald in one-on-one coverage. This is the best defensive player in the league. He's in my opinion, a top 5 defensive player of all time that I've seen personally. You got to double him. Anybody but him, like we always say. And also in my preview, I said this Rams defense is athletic because not only can they cover wide receivers, they can cover tight ends as well. I look at the Rams offense. I'm so proud and I'm so happy for Odell Beckham because he's really matured. No antics. They're getting him the ball. He's making plays. And he and Matthew Stafford have really developed a nice chemistry. Both of them kind of have similar backgrounds because everybody thought that they were the problems. And, when Stafford was in Detroit, everybody thought he was the issue. Everybody thought Odell was the issue in New York and mainly Cleveland. But, look, now they're playing on a potential Super Bowl caliber football team. As far as Tampa Bay, the injuries really showed yesterday. Plays that Tom Brady would have made with Chris Godwin. He tried forcing the ball to Scotty Miller or Tyler Johnson, and it just wasn't there. So with that being said, the Rams really set the tone early on, getting that pressure, running the football, Stafford taking care of the football. I got to give Tampa credit because they did a good job on Cooper Kupp, except for one portion of the game, which I'm about to get into shortly. The Rams were up 20-3 at one point. They were even up 27-3. But one thing I've come to realize is you do not doubt that man that wears number 12. He's never out of a game. This is the same guy. I was just telling my mom this yesterday. This is the same guy that has erased two 14-point leads in the same playoff game. And he erased a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl 49 against the Seattle Seahawks, and he was a Patriot. And he, of course, you remember 28-3. I don't think anything else needs to be said. And the Buccaneers did get back in this game. The Rams, to me, were trying to give the Bucs this game on a silver platter. Kept fumbling the football, couldn't hold on to the ball. Brady, give him a little bit of time. He'll work and make do with whatever he has around him. And Tampa got back to running the football. Tampa Bay did tie this game. So I'm painting a scenario right now. The Rams, it's like a third down, right? Third down and maybe 4. Todd Bowles. Now, let me explain one thing about Todd. Todd loves to blitz. If there's anything that I've come to know about him, he will send the house any chance he can get. Why do you think Tampa Bay is the one team in the National Football League these last 2 years or so? They've blitzed the most out of any other team in the league, right? He decides to run a cover 0. Now, let me explain what a cover 0 is. This is where everybody on the defense is on the line, and it's an all-out blitz. But here's the thing. You have to perfectly time these blitzes in order to get home. You cannot be a second late, because if you get there too late, the ball is out the quarterback's hands, and that's exactly what happened. Why wouldn't you keep somebody back when you have arguably the best wide receiver in the league on the opposing team? There was no help over the top. Matthew Stafford saw Cooper Kupp in a one-on-one situation, got him the ball, and that put them in field goal position. The Los Angeles Rams end up winning that game by a score of 30-27. Now, I'll give Tampa credit. They came back. I'll clap for them. But coming back and winning the game are two completely different things, and that's where I draw the line. That's where the buck stops. No pun intended. Or maybe. The Rams have to play better. Plain and simple. They can't play like that nonstop, because when you play like that, you'll go home. And they have to tighten some things up. Now, I'm going to go look at the stats of this game. Matthew Stafford, 28-38, 366 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was sacked twice. Cam Akers, is just amazing that he's still playing, after tearing his Achilles. 24 carries, 48 yards rushing, no touchdowns. Sony Michel really didn't do much. Cooper Kupp, 9 receptions, 183 yards, and 1 touchdown. On the Tampa side, Brady, 30 of 54. That's too many passes for him. 329 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times, but he was pressured throughout the game. Tampa did have Leonard Fournette back in the game, or Lombardi Lenny, as everybody likes to call him. 13 carries, 51 yards, 3 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans, 8 receptions, 119 yards receiving, and a touchdown. Gronk, 4 catches, 85 yards, 21 yards per reception. Now, I'll say this. A couple of weeks ago, even a couple of months ago, I kept saying Tampa's defense didn't scare me like they did around this time last year, and that's why they're home. They just didn't have that fear like they did last season on their run to a Super Bowl. Brady is eliminated. Isn't that crazy to think that Aaron Rodgers gets eliminated one day and then a day later Tom Brady gets eliminated? So the Los Angeles Rams are back in the NFC title game for the first time since the 2018 season when they actually won the Saints. Well, they were handed that game because of the refs and played the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So the Rams have had Tom Brady's number since that Super Bowl in Atlanta a couple years ago. So one half of the conference championship bracket is set. We're getting the NFC West showdown. San Francisco 49ers, Los Angeles Rams next Sunday night at SoFi. The Rams are looking to be the first team to not only host and win a conference championship, but play in the Super Bowl in the backyard after hosting a national championship. The Super Bowl is at SoFi in Inglewood this year. Now, the final game of the day, this is the one that I was really looking forward to, and boy, did it not disappoint. Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. This was my AFC championship. No disrespect, but I kept saying the winner of this game coming into the game would get to the Super Bowl. And I look at the Buffalo Bills, just an absolutely unbelievable performance against the Patriots in the wild card round. Every time they had the football offensively, they scored 5 touchdown passes from Josh Allen, and that guy just amazes me to be as big as he is and how he can fling that ball and how he can move. It's absolutely astounding. I know I've said he's a modern day Ben Roethlisberger. I think he's faster. I think he's a faster Ben because Ben wasn't getting yards with his feet like that at his peak, in his prime, and even slightly after his prime. He's kind of been a little bit on the slower side, no disrespect. The Chiefs handled their business against those Steelers the week before, so I knew this was going to be a collision course. First half, they were trading punches. Tyrann Mathieu went down for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's a big part of that Chiefs secondary, and I think he's the heart and soul of this entire football team. It was a back-and-forth affair. Looked like the Chiefs were going to run away with it, but don't count Buffalo out. Buffalo was not going down without a fight, and Kansas City did an okay job of limiting Stephon Diggs, but Gabriel Davis, everybody wants to say Buffalo doesn't have a number 2 wide receiver. I think that could be Gabriel Davis next year. He's a bigger guy. He's about 6'2" or 6'3". He's a possession guy. He can fly up and down the field. I mean, there was that one route where he just made Mike Hughes look silly, and everybody wants to say Mike Hughes is trash and this and that. There was no Tyrann Mathieu. He covers up a lot of blemishes on that Kansas City defense, and when it looked like Kansas City was gonna run away with the game, Buffalo scored. Josh Allen threw a dart to get a wide open Gabriel Davis, and I'm just saying to myself, you cannot let a guy get that wide open. But no game is over with Patrick Mahomes. He got him down the field, dumped it off to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek did what he did. It's 33-29 at that point. Then Buffalo gets the ball back, and Buffalo scores. So they throw punches once again, and it's 36-33. But 13 seconds left? This is where I really needed to see the methodical version of Patrick Mahomes. Don't take shots down the field. Don't bomb it, because Buffalo's expecting that, and they kind of ran some funny, funky backyard football routes where guys just get open, find a sliver of space, and just keep pushing the ball down the field. They were able to get in field goal range, and ended up being tied at 36 all. Now, this is the only overtime game of the week of the weekend of the divisional round. Kansas City won the coin toss, touched the ball. I think you know what happens here. They end up pushing the ball down the field, end up scoring. Buffalo never touches the ball. The Chiefs win. Excuse me. A thriller by the score of 42-36. Looking at the stats right here. Josh Allen, he played his butt off. And you can't do anything but respect him. Josh Allen, he was 27-37. 329 yards receiving, 329 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was only sacked twice. But he was their leading rusher. Didn't like that. Carried the ball 11 times for 68 yards. Gabriel Davis, wow. 8 receptions, 201 yards receiving, 25 yards per reception, and 4 touchdowns. That's a playoff record in postseason history. Stephon Diggs only had 3 receptions for 7 yards. Cole Beasley was 6 receptions for 60 yards. Then I look at the other side. Mahomes, 33 of 44, 378 yards passing, 11 yards per throw, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Mahomes was the leading rusher, but they were getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire the football. Tyreek Hill, 11 receptions, $150 and a touchdown. And Travis Kelce, 8 receptions, 96 yards, and 1 touchdown. Caught the touchdown came in overtime to seal the deal. That was a thrilling game, one of the best that I've seen. I won't say ever, but it's one of the best playoff games that I've seen. Probably the best weekend of playoff games that I've seen, because each game was decided by single-digit points. You had the 3 games decided by the field goals, where the Bengals were victorious, the 49ers won, and the Rams escaped. Kansas City had the largest margin, winning by 6 points, 42-36. So with that being said, conference championship weekend, one of my other favorite weekends during the football season in the NFL, is set. AFC championship, Cincinnati Bengals, Kansas City Chiefs. NFC championship, like I said a couple of minutes ago, 49ers and Rams. So little teaser of the AFC championship. I look at Cincinnati, and they didn't look the greatest, but they did enough to win. The defense really stood out more than the offense did. Burrow was sacked 9 times, so you know Kansas City, they're just licking their chops at the opportunity to get after Joe Burrow, and this is why you went and got a guy like a Melvin Ingram. Kansas City winning that thriller. Arrowhead's going to be rocking for the 4th straight year. The AFC title game is going to be at Arrowhead. Mahomes has never played a road playoff game. That's simply remarkable. Then the NFC, 49ers and Rams. It seems like every time the 49ers and Rams play one another, the 49ers seem to beat the Rams at their style of football, which is a physical style. Dating back to 2019, the 49ers have won the last 6 games. The last time these two teams met, it was an overtime showdown. The Rams blew a 17-point lead, and San Francisco ended up coming back and winning that game in overtime by a score of 27-24. I want to know who you guys have advancing to Inglewood. Send it to me when you guys watch this. My previews are coming later in the week, Thursday and Friday. Of course, I'm not going to tell you who I have winning, because that just takes away clicks from me. Usually this is the time where I answer questions, and I don't think I have any. I don't think I have any. So with that being said, I'm just going to answer the show. I'm going to check once again, see. But, I'm going to check. But, with that being said, I'm just going to end the show right now. I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I have fun recording it. I always enjoy every piece of content that I can put out to you guys, the amazing people and the supporters who have been behind me since day one. As always, I love to end the show with shout-outs. My beautiful mother and my beautiful sister, love y'all so much. My son, better known as my dog, Siebes. My siblings, Tanisha, Sean, Janice, mentioned Taylor already, but just wanted to do it again. My dad, love you to life. I was watching the game with him a little bit last night. We were just back and forth talking, and some of my friends, Robert Butler, Jason Tyree, Candace Carter, Kim Mel Fryer, Corey Harris, Deshaun Elliott, Rob Carter, Mike Griffin, Alex, AB, my other guy, Alex, and all the wonderful people that I'm able to contribute for on a weekly basis. And I can't forget my coach, Cole Johnson. Make sure you check out Cole Sports on YouTube. Phenomenal content. And our moderator, D, he really keeps us sharp and on our toes. How can you keep up with me? Log on to the website and become a subscriber today, thedailyblitz.blog. Follow us on Twitter at dailyblitz_61. Like the Facebook fan page, facebook.com. Go to the search box, type in Daily Blitz. Hit the thumb, like the fan page, and follow us on Instagram, which is at the Daily Blitz _61. How can you keep up with me on the airwaves? Outside of Monday Evening Quarterback, I do contribute to a couple of shows. You can catch me on a Prime. About to go do that in a little bit here shortly with David Hoffman, Israel Rivera, TJ Hopkins, and Matt James. That's every Monday night and Tuesday night. Wednesday nights, you can catch me on the Nerd Zone with John Danzo, Ronnie Kumpf, Ryan Shaw, and Christopher Lawrence. During the college football season, you can catch me on College Football Showdown with Israel Rivera and Matt James. And every Sunday on WCPT 820 AM in Chicago, Illinois, you can catch me on the Sports Cubicle with Michelangelo Mercado, Paul Shivari, Devin Tingle, talking football with those guys. And if you want to ever check that out, but you live outside the state of Illinois, no problem at all. I will gladly send you the link for you to tune in and support me. I can't thank you guys enough. Go get some merchandise. When you go to the Twitter page, my merch shop is pinned at the top of the page, and the same on the Facebook fan page. Go get you some merchandise. I would love to see you guys repping the brand and the logo. Before the Super Bowl, send me pictures so I can show you guys off and show you my give you my token of appreciation. God willing, I will be back next week. By this time next week, we'll have a Super Bowl. So I want to know who you guys have winning the game. I want score predictions. I want X factors. And I want a bold statement for both games. Can't wait to see what you guys send me. Getting ready to go do the Prime shortly. I will see you guys soon. Have a great week. Stay warm. Most importantly, stay safe and keep up with me throughout the week. Always send me your football questions. And before I end, I'd be crazy if I didn't. Rest in peace to the Black Mamba, Mr. Kobe Bryant. I will see you guys next week. Like I said, have a great week.